In today's episode, don't touch the iPad? You got it. Eat only in the designated area? Fine. Okay. I will add spicy non-vegan sauce to your vegan burrito. You'll be calling your lawyer? Just what I want to hear. So let's get started. Don't touch the iPad? You got it. Longtime lurker, first-time poster. English is not only my first language, but what I got my degree in, so please ridicule any errors you see mercilessly. I am on mobile though, so apologies for formatting errors. Also, this one kinda got away from me. Until recently, I worked at a fine dining restaurant. I was there for 3.5 years, and the majority of that time I was a busser. By the time I left, I was the most tenured person in the front of house by a fair margin, including managers, which we burned through ridiculously quickly, and everyone I directly worked with had good things to say about my work ethic, and how I was with the guests. I could be abrasive as a person, but if I was in your section, you'd have a smooth night, professionally. Some background: our restaurant was 90% reservation. One wasn't required, but if you wanted a table at a certain time, you made one. On occasion we'd have walk-ins or someone wouldn't show up to their reservation, but the number of covers, people, you walked into was usually pretty spot on to what you'd end up doing. Most of them were for two, but we'd also take larger tables. If the night was all two tops, we wouldn't set up for anything else, and anything bigger than a four top we'd have to push tables together. Not an issue, but a little time consuming to make sure every server was cool with the placement. Setup took between 2 and 3 hours, depending on how busy we were. Lastly, you'd figure out how busy we were from an iPad the hosts used, or that's how I did it. One winter, we had a shakeup. We had a new manager from our corporate parent take an open spot for a short-term contract. We'll call him Dave, and he quickly became one of my favorite managers. He was pretty no-nonsense, and respected that he didn't know how our restaurant ran. Thus, he was open to talking through our reasoning and basically expected that we were good at what we did unless we proved otherwise. Our hosts were mostly young women or old girls, like, still and just out of high school. In several instances, it was a first job ever, because the compensation was, and still is, pretty crappy. You'd get what you pay for, and many of them didn't have the refinement one would expect when paying over $100 a head before tax, tip, and alcohol. One, who we'll call Kay, was pretty protective of the iPad, at least when it came to me. When I came in, I would breeze up to the host stand, look at the numbers for a minute, then go set up. She, apparently, brought up that I would do this for no reason to Dave, and to his boss, who told Dave to get me to knock it off so HR wouldn't have to mediate. That would have looked bad for basically everyone. She never got upset when anyone else looked at the spread of tables, but I digress. He asked why I was touching the iPad. I responded that I was looking at the numbers, the big tops, special requests for tables, stuff like that. He asked why I wouldn't wait until pre-shift for that. I told him that was 15 minutes before service. I might be able to change things in time if that happened, but I'd miss the rest of pre-shift, and if I had to put together tables, the restaurant would be at least partially not set. He asked, specifically, what I needed, and I told him a breakdown of the tables by time is what I looked at. He said he'd make sure I had one when I came in and told me not to touch the iPad again. Cool, works for me. The next day, I come in and it's waiting for me. Handwritten because the app we use doesn't play well with printers. The day after, I asked him for it, and he said he had forgotten he'd get it to me. Took him half an hour to write it out and double-check that he didn't miss anything. The malicious compliance here is twofold. At some point between day 2 and 3, Dave realizes that he has other stuff to do rather than write out the spread of tables every day. He's been asked to not let me touch the iPad, and I've told him I won't. So, he talks to Kay and tells her she needs to write it out, and it needs to be done by the time I get in, about half an hour after she does. She, like Dave, realizes it's a lot of work for something I'll look at for 30 seconds and asks him to let me look at the iPad again. Sorry, no can do, we've gotten complaints, and we don't want HR to get involved. Kay comes to me and offers me the iPad when I get in. Sorry, I've been given a direct order, I'll take the spread when you're done writing it up though. I'd planned on relenting after a week, but the servers ended up loving seeing what was coming and when, and it became a staple of the host's job from then on. Kay ended up quitting after getting into it with another manager, but her contribution of a handwritten spread by the host is still going strong, as far as I know. Eat only in the designated area? Fine. This happened yesterday at a large regional grocery chain near me. It's the type of place with tons of gourmet and specialty departments, including ready-to-eat food and a little cafe area. The cafe includes a small gated-off outdoor space on the side of the building, which gets pretty busy as people are still hesitant to eat inside right now. There's also a hot foods bar that changes each day of the week. Yesterday being Saturday and game day, the theme was chicken wings. So I was picking up my groceries for the week, minding my own business, when I'm hit with the most divine smell I've ever known. Mind you, it's a bit past noon and I haven't eaten all day. Next thing I know, I'm following the smell like a cartoon thief chasing a pie in a window. I find myself at the hot bar and, possessed by a force far greater than myself, load up a container of wings. I check out, now fully entranced with the aroma of buffalo sauce and knowing full well that these wings aren't going to make it home. I step outside and walk down to the end of the building and sit down on the concrete ledge under the awning, and I go to town on my chicken wings. Like, absolutely unhinged, raccoon out a dumpster, chowing the F***ck down and not caring about anything else. Proudest moment? No. Would I do it again? Absolutely. It's bliss. Until suddenly, my chickeny meditation is interrupted by that deliberate type of ag-hum that sounds less like a polite throat clearing and more like an engine trying to turn over. I look up and see a well-dressed woman, probably mid-40s, sternly tapping her foot and pointing behind me. Confused, I look over my shoulder and see the no loitering sign. I'm still not getting it. I've obviously got a cart full of groceries I just stepped out with. I explain to her that I'm just enjoying my hot lunch before I head home. She is having none of it. Either eat in the designated cafe area or get out. I point out that all of the cafe tables are full, and I've just got a couple more wings. Then she delivers the kicker: figure it out before I call someone. Figure it out for you. Fine. I stand up, gathering my wings and leaving the rest of my groceries. I walk the 10 feet to the gated area, duck between the metal railings. The gate is about 10 yards down the way. Look pointedly around at the occupied tables, then sit my ass down on the concrete and continue noshing my wings, looking this lady in the eye. She tuts and pulls out a cell phone, ostensibly to call someone to figure it out for me, but either it was for show or they thought she was as nuts as I did, because I finished my chicken wings in peace, albeit among a sea of confused patrons. Okay. I will add spicy non-vegan sauce to your vegan burrito. Hi guys. First time posting here, English not first language, though I think I do alright in it, but apologies for any mistakes. This happened today, not to me personally, but to another customer that was the next in line at the food place I was at. To set the scene, this place is much like the famous Tex-Mex food joint in the US that serves burritos, burrito bowls, etc. You know the place. There are ready-made options, which come with a set configuration of food items, and there is also the option to build one yourself. All the options are written down on 3 big banners on top of where the employees make the food, as standard. I order my food, and I'm waiting for the next employee down the assembly line to finish my burrito with the condiments. An older woman who is carrying herself with that I am better than you attitude, and who definitely looks like someone who does not enjoy fast food often, and looks down on those who do, orders a vegan burrito, one of the preset choices. The employee has to ask still the type of tortilla, white or whole grain, and the type of rice, white or black. The woman is being very lazy with her response, looking down at her phone, and taking her sweet time with it. The first employee makes the burrito base, and passes it to the girl down the line, for whom I am waiting to finish my burrito, and who is also going to finish the woman's burrito. The woman asked if she could have any sauce with the burrito. The employee then explains that they do not put any sauce in the vegan burrito, because the sauces are not vegan. She says that they do put in salsa verde, which is technically a sauce, but counts as a topping in this store, not a sauce. The woman does not reply, looks up quickly and asks for the red chipotle sauce, as there are pictures in the banner corresponding the sauces. At this store, there are two sauces with very similar names, explosive chipotle and creamy chipotle, one being significantly more spicy than the other one. The creamy sauce is orange in the photo, and the explosive red. Neither sauce is vegan as the base is mayo. The employee is now trying to tell the woman two things: that the sauce she is asking for isn't vegan, in case the woman is, since she ordered a vegan burrito, and that the red sauce is very spicy. Now, maybe this woman knows what she's doing, and she just likes the vegan burrito and can handle her spice. However, from my point of view, that was not the case. The employee says again, "Man, this sauce isn't vegan, and it's very spick," only to be cut off by the woman who's saying with a very pushy tone, "Can I please just get the sauce?" I think the woman understood that the employee was not allowed to put extra sauce in the preset burrito options. You get only what's in the description. It was probably a long day for the employee, and she just stood there for a brief moment with a clear face of FML and asked, "Are you sure?" The woman promptly and annoyingly said yes. "I am sure." Cue malicious compliance. The employee added the salsa verde, which is already a bit spicy, and then grabbed the squeezy thing where the explosive chipotle sauce was and gave that woman a very generous amount, zigzagging the entire burrito. She then looked up and said with a smile, "Is that gonna be warm or cold?" She then rang us both, and the lady left. I wish to God I could have seen her face eating the burrito. But then again, maybe she loved it. We'll never know. You'll be calling your lawyer? Just what I want to hear. As a former school board privacy officer, I dealt with many FOI requests from the public that dealt with anything from salaries of senior employees to value of contracts awarded to emails about routine business. Occasionally someone would submit a very complex request that would require a lot of time to complete. So it was with one parent who wanted thousands of emails, committee meeting minutes, reports, and the personal notes of a dozen different school board employees. The reason? She had requested that her children's bus stop move from the entrance to the cul-de-sac she lived on to right in front of her house. While the difference was only about 100 meters, 109 yards, the request was denied because the circle at end of the cul-de-sac was too small for the bus to turn around. After working on the request for more than a month, she grew impatient and demanded to know what was taking so long. I tried to explain I was a one-man operation, but she started making accusations that I was part of a conspiracy against her. She demanded that I produce all the records immediately, or I will contact my lawyer. Now, I'm smart enough to know that anyone who says I will contact my lawyer doesn't have one, especially not one who specializes in freedom of information requests. But playing along, I said, "Oh, we don't want it to come to that. I'll finish this today," and hung up. So I did. The legislation requires that we charge $7.50/15 minutes of search time for records, plus $7.50/15 minutes of preparation time, redacting personal information, eliminating non-responsive info, etc., plus other incidental costs, copying, printing, etc. Because I had to have ICT help with the emails and computer records, the charges added up rapidly. I called her back the next day and told her the first batch of records would be ready by the end of the week. Then I asked how she'd like to pay the costs. "The costs," she said. "What costs? How much?" $4,870, I said. "As I'm sure your lawyer will explain, 50% is payable upfront before we proceed any further with the request. Then we can start on the next batch." Dead quiet on the other end of the phone. "You haven't heard the end of this." "I'm calling," she shouted and hung up. It is now 3 years later. Still waiting. Thanks for watching.